Well, I'm here to tell you that if there wasn't a deep state before 2016, 7 years of full spectrum political warfare against the MAGA insurgency has definitely created one by now. And I'm going to be expanding on a thread by @MartyrMade on Twitter to give credit where this tweet thread came from. I'm just going to be expanding on it. I want to give credit where it is due. From the outset, they were clearly against the Donald. And when Trump claimed that Hillary, Obama, and the FBI were spying on his campaign, the media, the Democrats, and all the loyalists laughed at him and called him a paranoid liar. And today, we know that it is true. Following his improbable victory, Comey and the FBI ran an off-the-books investigation on him. When Trump caught on and finally fired Comey, they ensured that the investigation continued under Robert Mueller. The primary FBI Russian collusion investigator wrote that he didn't want to be involved with the Mueller team because there's no there there, but agreed to help do so in order to bring impeachment about. He actually wrote this. Can you imagine anything more corrupt from supposedly the most fair government in the world to engage in a total lie and sham like this? You're mad because you lost the election, and in order to dethrone the president, you tie him up, you make up collusion, and you keep investigating. If you want to talk about an actual insurrection, that is one. Mueller figured out that there was no collusion 1 month into his investigation, but he continued to drag it out for another year and a half to keep GOP investigators from accessing the FBI and DOJ officials that might have been involved. And also, as a side note, maybe they could get Trump, maybe they could bait him into doing something that they could call actual obstruction of justice. He might have tried to and then was advised not to by some of his officials. The Democrats take back the House in 2018, and they promptly shut down the investigations into the spying on the Trump campaign, like the good partisans that they are. Mueller promptly wraps up his task now that there are no GOP investigators to worry about, and hands the ball back to congressional Democrats for phase 2 impeachment. Yes, because now that the GOP lacks the power to subpoena and investigate, they avoid the nefariousness of their actions being exposed for a prolonged period of time. A CIA spy planted in the White House tries to leak the contents of a president's phone call to Adam Schiff, who then tells him to write it up as a whistleblower report. This is utter corruption, marketing reasons. The most important nation in the world, and you're trying to think about selling it to the public so that you can retain power. During the phone call, Trump asked Zelensky to put his people in touch with the Attorney General's office to compare notes on what we now know is overwhelming evidence of the Bidens engaging in bribery, money laundering, and racketeering. The Democrats are now accusing Trump of what they did, confession through projection. The Democrats promptly impeached Trump for this, and limp-wristed, compromised Republicans went along with the charade, just like they did with the Russiagate, long after it had proven to be a hoax. Then, in 2020, the public health bureaucracy joined the fight against Trump, working with the Democrats and the media to use COVID to benefit the Democrats in the election. Why do you think they shut everybody down and then tried to pin the blame on Trump in the blue states? Why do you think that Pfizer, before the election, didn't come out with the news that they had successfully developed the vaccine, which maybe they did think of at the time as being safe and effective? Who knows? Maybe that part's actually true. Why do you think that Fauci said no public gatherings of any type and then immediately does not decry Black Lives Matter protests / riots erupting around the nation in close proximity to one another. And the health officials said that it was necessary to combat racism. These people are so absolutely dishonest and unmoored from truth. And speaking of Black Lives Matter riots and Antifa, the 2020 color revolution on the streets of America were allowed and encouraged by Democrats. Go ahead and protest. Biden officials and his campaign bailed out people in Minnesota when the riots began, as they tried to bait Trump into calling in the military so that the traitor General Milley could refuse to take action, and this could be used against Trump. They could actually take action against the Donald for calling in the military in an effort to protect small businesses and decent American citizens against the rioting and looting of Black Lives Matter and Antifa. Why do you think that all these blue cities and states allowed themselves to be destroyed and the decent law-abiding citizens to have their businesses burned down and looted? Democrat policies during that time were pure cynical and evil, and of course that continues today. Then the FBI works together with big tech to engage in unprecedented censorship to protect the Bidens. The Hunter Biden laptop, of course. The FBI had the laptop almost a year before Rudy Giuliani announced it.
Was that your laptop?
For real, I don't know.
I know, but you know that this is.
I really don't know.
Okay.
The answer is.
You don't know yes or no if the laptop.
I don't have any
yours.
idea. I have no idea.
So could have been yours.
Of course, certainly. There could be a laptop out there that was stolen from me. There could be that I was hacked. It could be that it was Russian intelligence. It could be that it was stolen from me.
And they absolutely verified the authenticity. CIA officials went and they signed 51 of them that it bears all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation. Note that they use those weasel words so that they can't be held absolutely accountable, but everybody knows that they were 100% lying and that FBI officials had absolutely confirmed it. They had previously gone and done drills with Facebook and Twitter executives wargaming, and one of the things that they said was, let's say that there's a big dump of Hunter Biden documents that we think the Russians might do before the election. What do you do? And what do you think they did? They were pre-framed, and thus they shut down the story. You were blocked on Twitter from sending this out. On Facebook, they censored the story so that it got minimal coverage. You were just speaking out into the wind in a giant field with nobody there. Then you had the election fortified by a well-funded cabal of people ranging across industries and ideologies, working behind the scenes to influence perception, change rules and laws. In other words, mail-in voting. And in Pennsylvania, it actually went against the state's constitution, but they don't care. They also steered media coverage and controlled the flow of information. And they continued on CNN to lie about Trump, to call him racist, to raise the ire against him, despite the fact that he was actually a really good president in terms of his policies. In fact, they were so successful that after the election was over, they bragged about it in a Time.com article as a subtle head nod out there on the internet for everybody, for those who were involved. And then after the election, you had Milley going behind the president's back with Chinese military officials, assuring them that he would not be listening to Trump. In other words, he was a traitor. He was going to subvert the orders of the President of the United States. Then we know for a fact that we had federal agents agitating for a riot on January 6th. Who do you think that Ray Epps is? Why do you think that he wasn't investigated by the FBI forever and ever and ever, despite openly stating,
tomorrow, we need to go into the Capitol! Into the Capitol! Peacefully! Fed!
These people refused extra police and guards that Trump had offered at the time. And we all know that the FBI helped stage the kidnapping of Gretchen Whitmer to arouse sympathy for her in the state of Michigan to help her win the election. Why do you think that they would not be agitating in the crowds in an effort to have an insurrection and then use it against Trump and then to gain more power and maybe win in the midterms by throwing this veil of this hypnotic veil of doubt about the intentions of MAGA really trying to make America great again and merely demonizing them and casting them as the enemy. It's pure Soviet tactics, divide and conquer, and it's evil. But do you really think that the FBI is above this? Then we had the domestic war on terror. Imagine allowing Antifa and BLM to reign free on the streets, to maim people, to not sentence them, to loot, to steal, to set fire to local businesses, and then to investigate using FBI resources, citizens, concerned parents that want critical race theory out of their schools, because that's exactly what Merrick Garland and the DOJ did. And it was only because of FBI whistleblowers that we in fact know this, because they were so upset that their sworn oath to protect this nation was being used by these political monsters in an effort to, frankly, in my opinion, destroy America. And now we are here today. And we know that Trump is going to be the 2024 Republican nominee. At least that's overwhelmingly the favorite. So do we think that this is going to stop? No, because this has gone on for 7 straight years, nonstop, and has involved a vast public-private partnership of corrupt and vested interests that have gone so far and crossed so many lines that they cannot afford at any cost to lose power. Because once those doors are opened, once the reins of power are ceded, then they will be investigated and they will have the full force of Trump's DOJ thrown at them in revenge, and because they've been traitorous to the nation and seeking their own interest over those of America's citizens. And it's like a liar deep in a lie that will continue to create more fibs and untruths in order to cover for himself, because he doesn't want to face the repercussions of his actions. And that is exactly what this now created, if it wasn't there before, deep state is going to do. They are going to act like a cornered animal, and they are going to fight with everything that they have. So do I think that the 2024 election will be remotely fair, especially if Trump is the nominee? Absolutely not.